Hi everyone, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join our demo day. I know that time is really precious at the moment, so I really do appreciate you joining me. Just a quick intro, my name's Molly Kent and I'm Quality and Compliance Specialist at Radar Healthcare. So you may be thinking, who are Radar? Well, Radar is a quality and compliance software solution. We've been around since 2012 and we support over 6,000 locations in the UK and overseas, both across private and NHS care settings. Radar is very unique for a couple of reasons, and I'm just going to quickly talk you through those. So firstly, Radar's highly configurable, meaning that from day one of using the software, it's an accurate and true reflection of your business processes. And secondly, you're actually given the tools to make configurations in-house, which is really important, both in the context of the pandemic and outside as well. I'm going to talk about that in a bit more detail later on. Secondly, because Radar is cloud-based and it works on any device, we can onboard you remotely and at pace. And then lastly, we take a completely different approach. We're not just a software provider, we're very much your technology partner, and our world-class team ensure that your organisation is the vanguard of quality and compliance excellence. Today we'll be taking a look at earlier in this year, when we'll have a look at when COVID started, when it appeared on the horizon earlier in 2020, and I'm going to talk you through how your approach could have been different had you had Radar. We've also created a short video to show you how we've been supporting organisations throughout the pandemic, and I'm going to create a link afterwards and share that with you either via a blog or email follow-up. So hopefully you'll find that resource useful. So firstly, let's take a look at how Radar has helped organisations to be prepared for the pandemic. We'll pretend we're right at the beginning of 2020, we're just getting our services prepared and ready for what's about to happen. It's a very common situation in healthcare to have siloed processes, to be using a mixture of Excel and paper, and to use a number of different software platforms to manage the various strands of quality and compliance management. Radar takes a very different approach. So as you can see on the screen, there is one platform to manage every element of quality and compliance across your organisation, and also it's truly role-based. So when I log in, I know that I'm presented with information which is relevant to me and my role. We've spoken to numerous healthcare professionals to understand the challenges that they face at the start of the pandemic, and I thought it would be useful to share the most common ones with you. So firstly, there was the need to react quickly, changing and amending existing processes. We all know that regulations and requirements can change very quickly in healthcare, and that never was that truer than in 2020 when organisations had to react almost overnight to these new changes. Secondly is communicating with staff. Unfortunately, we're no longer privy to those in-office conversations, catch-ups over the coffee machine, bumping into people in the corridor, or even going down to the shop floor of a busy acute trust. We're relying on technology, we're relying on the systems around us to maintain and to really forge those strong channels of communication. And that's very much the bread and butter of what Radar does. There's a couple of examples I'm going to talk you through of where our customers have seen great benefit from using those. Thirdly, we've got the rapid changes to guidance and processes. So again, it's all about the configurability, the ability to adapt, change, and also maintain operational excellence, even in this period of extreme pressures. And then lastly, it's all about assurance. So how can you remain assured that you're actually delivering the safest and most effective care? Radar addresses all of these elements. So firstly, you'll have fully audited your organisation's infection control processes. Your staff have access to your policies, and also they're kept up to date because of Radar's inbuilt reminder and escalation system, as well as by scheduling regular checks and audits. Through Radar, you can create, amend, and actually disseminate training packs and automatically track who has received them, who's confirmed to have understood them, and also importantly, who hasn't. Staff are assured that they're compliant with the latest COVID guidelines and they're able to protect themselves, their patients, and their family as well. Using Radar, you have one tool of communication for your staff. So no matter what happens, you know that you can reach your staff with regular updates and can prioritise those as well. We spoke to Jo Howard, who's the Director of Nursing and Quality at Morling Health. Morling Health are a group of GP practices and out-of-hours services, and they are spread across the country. They have different locations going into mini lockdowns, and obviously that in-office and on-site communication was taken away at an early stage with people working from home and self-isolating. Radar has been instrumental to Morling throughout the pandemic, and Joe said that because of the red, amber, green rating, which you can start to see on the screen, their staff were able to quickly understand which information was highest priority, and they weren't sent a deluge of emails and follow-ups as they had done previously. Staff were also given the assurance that they were following the latest guidance to the letter of the law, because Morling can quickly and effectively communicate with everyone. Now, let's turn our attention to the first stages of the pandemic and how your approach could have been different had you used Radar. Radar takes a totally different approach to quality and compliance, as I hope that you see throughout this demonstration. Not only is a central hub and it's one source of truth, but you can also intelligently link relevant information with ease. This means the system triangulates information for you, and as a result, you have vastly improved visibility. I'm going to split this section into 4 parts. So firstly, reporting. Then we'll look at training, getting our staff ready, willing and able for what's about to happen, assessing, and then finally improving. On the first page that you're presented with when you log onto Radar is your dashboard. This is the home page for all relevant information, and again, because the system is role-based and RAG rated, you have assurance that you're only seeing relevant and personalised information. From here, you can have a micro and macro view of all compliance across the organisation, whether you're looking at organisation-wide COVID-related mandatory training or the result of one infection control audit at a specific location. The information is presented to you in a clean, simple and digestible format. Radar uses inbuilt advanced analytics and AI to detect anomalies across your organisation and act on them in a meaningful way. This function has been absolutely paramount to organisations throughout the pandemic, and we caught up with Paula Wiggins, Systems Manager at Somerset NHS Foundation Trust. Paula describes the wow moment with Radar's analytics, saying that the smart AI can show you what it is you do know. Now let me show you something you don't know. This is extremely valuable, and in the context of a pandemic when things are moving so quickly and we have to react in real time. I'm going to show you a couple of real life examples as well later of what that looks like and how that can alleviate pressures across your organisation. We also know that guidelines, regulations and requirements can change quickly in healthcare, and this has never been truer than throughout the pandemic. It has demonstrated the need to react almost overnight, and without a strong communications and evidence solution, it would be almost impossible to rapidly evidence all staff members' compliance. Radar automatically tracks, manages and monitors all staff compliance. And because, as I mentioned, the system is so configurable, you can actually create training packs in-house and send them out, and then evidence full compliance with just a few clicks of a button. I've mentioned as well the importance of auditing. So with Radar, and through Radar, you can schedule audits to repeat across multiple locations. Radar's audit module also gives you visibility and control as well of information across the whole organisation. You can triangulate performance against raised events and action plans to help you improve organisational safety and quality standards. So combine that with the use of the risk register and also scheduled tasks, you'll have greater visibility across the organisation, and you can intelligently triangulate and drive continuous improvement. Now let's look at the third part. That's the tracking and improvement part. And this comes in the guise of events. So whilst many organisations have systems in place, it's often difficult, again, to triangulate information and create brand new event types in a dynamic way as well. We spoke to Walsingham Support, and their experience using Radar throughout the pandemic has been excellent. Misha Funtnote is the Quality and Policy Manager at Walsingham Support and has said, Radar is our main central location for all COVID-19 data operationally to help us track and monitor our events. It has been a great central auditable tool to effectively see services and monitor their progress and KPIs across regions, managers and more. We can also pull reports that would otherwise take ages. Walsingham set up a separate event for staff members to fill in a form once they'd had a test for COVID-19. So this meant that their managers could immediately see who had been tested, when, and what the result was. They've had around 650 tests log onto Radar, allowing them to audit which areas were receiving more tests than others. For example, the London locations were being tested weekly, but some other areas, such as Cumbria, had actually been tested about once overall. Their safeguarding and protection lead is then able to map where they need to deliver more support in terms of tests, so they can operate more fairly by influencing testing going forward. There are many organisations that have been better off and had better clarity of staff isolation during the COVID-19 because of Radar directly. We caught up with Mike Drayford, who is the Systems and Governance Manager at Accomplished Group, and he described how the event reporting module has been a great tool for them throughout the pandemic. He said, "We have been able to generate a daily report for HR of any staff who are self-isolating so that they are aware and can contact those individuals." Whilst all this activity is happening, you need a central repository for your actions so that they can be closely monitored, and you can drive continuous improvement. Because Radar looks at different locations across your organisation, it can actually intelligently pick up any existing action plans for that location. This means there's no duplication of work, and you can easily, again, triangulate, spot trends and corroborate information. ERS Medical has seen great improvements in their quality and compliance processes since using Radar. They now have the capability to identify problem areas and, more importantly, track and trend these events. They can write action plans and they can link them to other areas of the business if needed as well. We caught up with Simon Smith, who's the head of care standards at ERS Medical, about their experience using Radar. Simon has said, "We have had much greater transparency of our compliance. We are now able to plan correctly and to manage issues more effectively, and our ability to now evidence what we do is hugely significant. We have seen a huge improvement in our initial investigations, and our regional managers really buy into it. When the CQC has seen Radar, they have been really impressed, as have our NHS customers, who now specifically ask for data out of Radar." Finally, because we've given you the tools to create all these changes in-house, you can amend and change processes very, very quickly. Our world-class team are always also on hand to create bespoke changes very quickly. We spoke to Louise Petcher, who is the Service Quality Manager at HealthNet Home Care, and she said that having the support from Radar at a time like this has been invaluable. They turned around a number of bespoke requirements for us, and that has meant that our staff have been able to quickly understand what they need to do, and we've been able to free up time for NHS hospitals to deal with an increasing need to look after their patients. So I talked about analytics earlier. I want to go into this in a little bit more detail just to give context to how powerful this tool is. You may be familiar with the process of having information, data in different locations, and perhaps relying on a team, either of analysts or individuals, to look at that data, interpret it, and drive manual actions off the back of it. Radar takes this one step further. We look at all of the information in Radar, and then it automatically interrogates that data and drives actions off the back of it. It signposts them to the relevant people, it gives them tasks and timestamps, and so you have that assurance that you're shifting from reactive to proactive. A couple of examples are on the screen of how we take in this data, whether it's a device-driven event from a wearable, a temperature sensor, or even a thermometer in a fridge, and that's an example we'll look at in a moment. People-driven events, people entering information into Radar and the system picking that up, interrogating it, and driving actions automatically based on the back of that data. Or data-driven events, so we actually integrate, we've got an API, we integrate with other organisations, we've got third-party services. We're bringing in multiple data sources, again, looking at it in intelligent ways and driving improvements off the back of it. So the first example, one of a pharmacy fridge, a very familiar example. If we think about, without Radar, someone would physically go, look at the temperature of the fridge and record that in one way or another, whether that's on a paper-based form, whether it's Excel, whether it's even in a system. If there's an anomaly, then that person is then responsible for driving some changes, taking out the fridge, contacting the tech team to repair the fridge, whatever those actions might be. Now, this process does have a large margin for human error, but when you're in a period of extreme pressures, such as we are in at the moment, that margin is driven wider and wider, and obviously that can lead to lots of things going wrong. So how do you maintain that operational excellence during a period of extreme pressures? The answer is relying on data and automating where appropriate. So what Radar does is we actually can speak to lick and stick thermometers, which you put on the inside of a fridge, and they're the size of 50p a piece. They won't interfere with anything. Radar itself can actually speak to that, take in the readings, and it will recognise, is this a normal value? Is it not? Is it too high, too low? If that's the case, it's going to automatically generate a task list. It will assign it to the most appropriate people. It will give it timestamps. And again, the system is driving those actions. If someone's overdue on them, it will remind them, it will escalate appropriately. And you have that full evidence portfolio that you're driving change in a meaningful and sensible way. So for example, person one, empty the fridge, replace the fridge, quarantine the stock, perform a risk assessment and automatically report to Public Health England. Again, because Radar incorporates all those different strands of quality and compliance management, you know that it's going to look at everything in an intelligent way, triangulate the information, as I keep saying, and obviously continuous improvement is the net result of a process like this. So now let's think of one in the context of the pandemic, and infection control is the example I've chosen for today. So again, without Radar, you might be reporting infection control events, relying on teams to look at how many have been reported, at which locations, what should the next actions be, how are we going to drive improvement, and what does resource allocation look like? With Radar, again, the intelligent analytics and inbuilt AI will detect how many have been reported. It will look cross-organisation, cross-location, a place-based approach, even if that's appropriate. And then again, based on that data, based on your organisation's business rules, it will drive improvements, it will drive actions off the back of it. So, for example, a trust has had a series of infection control events. The system then picks up on that and, based on the organisation's business rules, drives an outbreak event. It automatically creates the outbreak event and assigns the tasks. It confirms it's an outbreak. It will investigate. It puts control measures in. It will put even a media strategy. And then even it can ensure public and health bodies have got the correct data. And obviously all of this is fully audited automatically. It's evidence, it's time stamped. So when we look at it retrospectively, we can see that not only were we following our organisation's policies and SOPs to the letter of the law, we had a system which was driving it, and we've got all the evidence to demonstrate outstanding practice. So finally, how will Radar make my life easier? A quick quote on the board from Methodist Homes. They have around 90 sites in the UK, support just shy of 20,000 older people. We caught up with Rebecca Anthony about their experience using Radar, because we got them up and running very quickly sorry, just remove that, very quickly right at the beginning of the pandemic. And Rebecca said that it was so easy to work with Radar. They got us up and running quickly and easily, including importing all of our users and permissions. Our sites were able to log COVID-19 outbreak related events so that we could start to build a clear picture of where we were at and offer support to affected sites. So it's actually looking outside the walls of the physical location, looking at a place-based approach, looking at the wider estate, and how, as an organisation, can you ensure that you're managing the pandemic in the most effective and best way possible. Here are some of the key takeaways from today. So how will Radar make your life easier? Improved comms. Again, we've not got access to those in-office conversations. It's not the same as before when we're bumping into people in the kitchen or over the coffee machine. Radar's cloud-based, it works on any device, it's one source of truth, and you know that as a member of staff or through to board level, I've got that assurance that I need. I'm following best practice, we are complying at every level in the organisation, and we are delivering outstanding care despite everything that's happening. Then it's data-driven. It's that shift from reactive to proactive. No longer do we need to look at teams of people having to interrogate the data for us. We can actually better place those staff. We can drive continuous improvement through using the analytics tool to interrogate that data and drive change across the organisation. This in turn promotes continuous self-improvement. There are no manual processes, so no more manual collection of information, analysing, reporting. You can actually get on with the job in hand, and no one goes into healthcare to be an administrator. No one wants to be pulling data from multiple data sources and hashing it into an Excel. Radar's taking care of that for you, and you're doing what you need and want to do. There's financial savings. We caught up with Thistle Healthcare, who use Radar Healthcare, and they've estimated they save around 3 staff days per month simply from using Radar. The reduction in manual overheads, the slicker processes, the clearer visibility, there are direct and clear financial savings. You can demonstrate good governance very easily through using Radar, and ultimately you're instilling ownership and forced behaviours. I hope that you found this session useful. As I mentioned, what I will do is I will send, we're going to send some information over via a blog, and we're going to send the video as well. And then finally, if you want to get in touch, please just go onto our website or contact me. There are so many examples and some insights which we'd be very happy to share with you and have a chat about what can you do, how can we support you as we go into Wave 2 and beyond as well. Thank you very much for your attention. As I said, it's really appreciated. Have a wonderful rest of your day.